Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Sever7, and today we are taking a look at the HX Outdoors ZD-022c. Super catchy name. This is an Amazon knife, and just like with any Amazon branded knives, you could get garbage or you could, find a hidden gem. So that's what we're going to talk about today with this knife. For me personally, I like to gamble, and if it's a cheap knife, kind of see what I get. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you like to gamble on cheap Amazon knives, or do you really just want to save all your money for something that is a sure thing, right? Let's go ahead and jump into specs. We have an overall length of 7.3 inches. So, not a huge knife. We've got a blade length of 3 inches and a blade to handle ratio of about 70%. So that's important because the blade to handle ratio is super important to me. And right around 80% blade to handle ratio, that's when you kind of get that illusion of like a 50-50, right? Like a Shirogorov, it kind of looks like the blade and handle are like the same length, even though they're really not. But I find that 80% blade to handle ratio is kind of that sweet spot. So we're pretty far below that. And as you can tell, it's pretty easy to see the blade and the handle are not 50-50. Now, this is coming with S35 VN. We've got that right. Now, S35VN is known for being like a really well-balanced steel. It's got a 5 out of 10 for edge retention, 6 out of 10 for ease of sharpening, 5 out of 10 for toughness, and then a 7.5 out of 10 for corrosion resistance. Now, with edge retention and sharpening, there's a direct correlation there. The higher your edge retention, the harder it is to sharpen, and the lower your edge retention, the easier it's going to be to sharpen. So since this has a middle of the road edge retention, it's going to have a middle of the road ease of sharpening. Now, we don't have an HRC listed for this guy, which is not a huge surprise, but all those awesome specs for the S35VN really only hold true if the heat treat was done correctly. Now, we have a stonewash blade finish, and on Amazon, they list this as a drop point. Now, I'm gonna say modified Tonto, specifically because we've got this secondary kind of point right here at the bottom. And this point's gonna come back up. It's kind of important as far as like how the usability of this knife. We have a flat grind. We've got a full titanium handle with some, I would say, some pretty attractive anodizing. It says blue on the site, but it's definitely coming across as like a blurple. And I'm a huge fan of blurple. But they also have they've got some creative cutouts. They've got some milling, and it's fairly deep too. Oh, sorry for the shake. If you listen, like it's pretty deep milling. It's enough to give you a little extra grip onto the knife. We've got this back spacer that also has some gems to it. So, you can tell that they definitely didn't, totally half-ass the design. They went above and beyond to try to add some personality to it. If you're familiar with Reich, then this definitely looks like a baby Reich, like a Reich alien, or something along those lines. Like if Reich was a budget brand, then I could see them pumping out something kind of like this. So I do appreciate that styling. We have a deep carry titanium pocket clip. mostly deep carry. We've got about that much will be sticking up whenever it's in your pocket. Overall weight of about 3.4 ounces, and that's, no doubt because of all the milling they've done. And then it says on Amazon, style American. I don't know what that means, but I have no doubt in my mind that this is manufactured in China. Now, a size comparison, we're going to put this up against the Civivi Altus. Slide these down a bit. And we're going to put it up against the Civivi Brazen. So it's kind of right in between. We've got, definitely bigger than the Altus, but, definitely pretty far away from the Brazen. So just kind of in the middle. But at 7.3 overall inches, it's like no one's going to consider this a large knife. Now, as far as aesthetics go, we already went over it a bit. I do enjoy the look of this knife. Really, because of the blurple and because of the milling and attention they put into, into the handle. And, as far as feel in hand, they have this comfortable, it's really, really good. They've got this nice little finger choil, and, you've got some space before you get to the point, so you kind of hold it like a trigger pull. But it's roomy, you don't feel cramped. And then your hand just kind of, falls in there pretty naturally. I would say, ergonomically, this knife feels really, really good, really comfortable. I don't feel any hot spots on it. You could use this thing all day, and you're not going to have, you're not going to be hurt and you're not going to be sore. Now, as far as the action, so this has a really satisfying detent, as long as you're not putting, let me actually put the knife on the screen, as long as you're not putting any pressure on the lock bar, right? This is very sensitive to pressure. So if you're doing anything that's touching that lock bar, this thing's not going to want to deploy, and you'll look like a jackass. But as far as not touching the lock bar and the actual action, it's really just right. It's satisfying, it's fidgety, not too light, not too stiff. The lock bar access, they did a really, really good job of kind of milling this area out. So while you don't have a ton of extra access, it's really easy to just kind of get in there, push, and let the blade drop. See, that was me putting pressure on the lock bar. Really comfortable and really satisfying lock bar access. We are riding on bearings, and as far as acoustics go, I'm going to flick this silently, and you can determine if the acoustics are satisfying for you. All right, now what does this knife cost? So this comes in at $99.99, right? So $100 for S35VN and titanium, with a good amount of detail added onto it, as far as the milling and the holes and things like that. Now, what issues do I have with this knife? Well, I'll say the biggest issue I ran into, and we're going to come back and kind of talk about this point here, is that cutting with the knife, the things that you would normally use this knife for, because it's not a hard use knife at all, you would use this knife for, opening letters or cutting boxes or cutting paper and things like that. What happens is whenever you go into a cut, as soon as you hit this point right here, and there's such a drastic angle change, that it actually pulls you out of the cut preemptively. So let me kind of show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go in for the cut, and it just redirected me out of the cut. See how it's, do it again, do a little bit. That's me. Let's go over here. I get to that point, and then suddenly I'm falling out, right? Now, if I just go across it, if I just push through it, then sure, but I shouldn't have to do that. So, constantly having to remember that, whenever this tip comes up, I'm going to slide out of the cut. I found that to be pretty dang annoying. Now, after like a single sharpening, that's going to go away. And then you're just going to have belly, and that won't be a problem anymore. So, that's a little reassuring, but I wish they would have just kept it simple and either committed to giving a definite point there for utility, or just nothing at all, right? Just make it a belly and don't do anything else. So, do I think this knife is worth it? So the blade geometry is frustrating, just because of that non-committal Tonto tip that they put in there. And, user experience is huge. So, having a hindered user experience is going to knock a lot of points off. Outside of that, though, $100 for, titanium and S35VN isn't a bad price for those materials, but we have no idea what the heat treat is, right? So we don't know if this is, because if the heat treat is done perfectly, awesome. Then I would say, yeah, sharpen out the little tip and then all day, right? Get it all day. But, you can get Civivis and, you can get a Kershaw Leak with S35VN, $60-70, right? Those are name brands with, they're like known heat treats, and, they're coming in, $30 less than this. Yeah, sure, they might not have all the styling of the handle, and I do value that quite a bit, but, they're still known quantities. Like, I know that I can trust Civivi to do a good job on a heat treat. I know that I can trust Kershaw to do a pretty good job on a heat treat. With these guys, I have no idea what I'm getting. Now, had they produced this knife and then, said, that they heat treated it perfectly, and then people used it or it tested out at that heat treat, then I would say, yeah, awesome. Or if they would have come in closer to like $79, $80, with this level of detail and construction, then I would say awesome, right? But the fact that we're coming in at $100, sorry for the shake. Once my setup is not what it is, not as budget as it is, the shake will go away, I promise. But had they come in cheaper or with like a verifiably awesome heat treat, then I would say, yeah, this knife is good to go. As it sits right now, it's missing those marks, right? So, if the knife speaks to you, if you love the styling of it, and you don't mind taking a bit of a gamble on the heat treat, then sure. There's nothing wrong with the knife, minus that tip and, the possibility that the heat treat is terrible. But, you kind of take that risk with, a bunch of different knife companies. So I wouldn't say you're, throwing your money in the garbage, by buying this knife. And it's Amazon, so typically, you can find coupons and things like that for this knife. There's none active right now, but I'm still going to link it below, and you can take a look whenever you watch the video. And who knows, if it shows up, 20% off. Well, hey, there you go. Then I would recommend it. Just because the overall user experience of this knife, when you're not cutting with it, like if you're not dealing with that point, if you're fidgeting, and just enjoying the knife, this aspect of it's really good. And those things matter quite a bit to me. So that's enough to offset some of the diminished utility. But I don't think most people feel the same. Outside of that, though, that's pretty much it. I'm going to link the knife down below. It's not an affiliate link, so I'm not going to get anything for it. It's just there for your convenience. Please follow me on Instagram. It's Sever7, SEVR, Please like and subscribe if you want to. And I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.